Welcome back to the conversation on the TYT network. We've got a great guest for you now. Her name is Zahra Burton. She's the founder of Global Reporters for the Caribbean, and she's also the lead reporter for 18 North Investigations. Zahra, it's been a long time. Welcome back to the Young Turks.
Yeah, it's been a long time and a pleasure. I mean, I think some of you viewers know the background that, we both started Young Turks way back together at some point or another, and you've done a really fabulous job of making it grow. So it's really great to be back.
Thank you. It's probably been over a decade since you've been on.
I think so. Amazing.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're doing great journalism. So tell us what 18 degrees north is.
The name, by the way, is the geographic coordinates of Jamaica. And so 18 degrees north focuses on investigative journalism that is important to the Caribbean and of importance to the world, even though it comes from the Caribbean. And so we'll do a lot of stories based on political corruption. We'll do a lot of stories based on environmental degradation. We have stories that are related to, for instance, the offshore companies being registered in some of the Caribbean islands. That's a huge business for certain individuals in the Caribbean. But then there's, of course, the corrupt aspect, whether it's Russians who are hiding their money there, that kind of thing. So we do a lot of stories that impact the world, but just happen to be here in the Caribbean.
Zahra, it's hard enough to do hard-hitting journalism in America. There's this mythology that, oh my God, America has this great free press. But in reality, in my opinion, politically, they basically work for the establishment. And but there's wonderful journalists here. There's great journalists that have tremendous courage that do work in places like Russia and China, where they're oppressed. So since a lot of the audience is not familiar with how the governments deal with the press in the Caribbean, how has 18 degrees north been received, given that you guys do hard-hitting journalism and sometimes investigate corruption? Normally governments don't like that. So what's been the reaction?
Oh, well, our prime minister, the current one, he sued me. That was the reaction. I did a story on him being, his big house. And this big house, you really ask the question, how was it paid for, especially given the fact that he was basically a lifelong politician. And this house was millions of US dollars, supposedly valued at. And so the questions I raised were along the lines of, okay, where did he get this money? And because I raised those questions, I was sued, and we had to go into mediation, and it was essentially resolved under confidential terms. But the truth is that I reserve the right to rebroadcast. The thing is up on the internet, on YouTube. And the station here, which is TVJ, when I submitted it for rebroadcasting, they actually decided against rebroadcasting it, even though we won the right to rebroadcast it. So, I have some problems with press freedom because I think we even have a higher ranking than the United States does. But the truth is, in the same way that you sometimes second guess your ranking, I second guess ours too.
So same the world over, you challenge power and you're going to have issues. Well, I love that you're challenging power. So I want to actually juxtapose it because you work for the press here in America, including for Bloomberg News. But before we do that, so where can people find out more about 18 degrees north? Where can they get your journalism if they want to see that story and others?
Well, that story right now is up on YouTube. So anybody can go and just Google Andrew Honus's Big House, 18 degrees north. That investigation will come out. You can have a view of it and leave a comment or two and see the kind of journalism that we do. Now, in terms of the investigations newsletter, it's 18DN for 18 degrees north, but it's 18dn.substack.com. It's a newsletter. It's a paid subscription service. And by the way, the reason that we've gone into a paid subscription service is from a standpoint that when we did, for instance, the Big House investigation, immediately before we went to air, just the teaser alone, our sponsor bailed on us. And so the financial implications are also quite pertinent as well and harmful to investigative journalism. And so because we kind of wanted to tidy up this being beholden to, let us say, company interests or to political interests, it's not that we won't do business with them. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I would prefer a model, we would prefer a model whereby the individuals, the citizens, the residents, the diaspora, they, if they're interested in what it is that we're doing, they will support our journalism, the kind of journalism that we bring, which is independent journalism.
And look, it's the same the world over in terms of financial incentives, disincentives, and pressures. So you used to work at Bloomberg News. There was a story out about a week ago saying that they buried a story about Chinese leaders and their houses, literally their mansions, their money, because China said we'll kick out Bloomberg News and Bloomberg from all of China. And Bloomberg mainly makes his money from Bloomberg terminals and had a ton of money at stake. So they spiked the story. But what's your experience in the Caribbean overall, not just Jamaica, because you guys cover the whole Caribbean, versus when you were here in the U.S. and you were an anchor for Bloomberg News?
Controversy was not something that was my MO at Bloomberg TV. I have to be honest about that. So that is not something that I had any experience with at all, being in television while at Bloomberg. What I can tell you is one of the things that really caused me to do this was when I saw Mr. Bloomberg running for president. And there was an interview, I forget which outlet it was, but the point is that I was really surprised that he didn't promote the idea that his news organization should cover him independently, regardless of the situation, for the betterment of the United States in terms of journalism coverage and that kind of thing. It was more like, well, these reporters, they do need to kind of be careful and know that where their bread is buttered. And I thought it was like not cool.
How long have you been doing 18 Degrees North now?
2013.
Okay, wow. So it's been 7 years. Do you remember the first story you had that was controversial?
The major story that I'm known for that was the most controversial was that one that I mentioned to you. It was about, and it was controversial, I believe, because I got sued for it. I would say to you that I've done other stories, though, about politicians being outstanding on their property taxes. I've done other stories as well about lottery scamming in Jamaica and how it's ripping off individuals, elderly couples or people in the United States, and how some of us, there's a section of the society that believes that the lottery scamming, even though they're scamming individuals out of their life savings, that's considered to be reparations, money for slavery, which I totally disagree with. And there's a song right now, as a matter of fact, that has used my report on lottery scamming in their song, praising lottery scamming without my permission. So that's another drama that I have to deal with. But anyway, yeah.
So, well, look, Zahra has a spirit that cannot be broken. So if you're going to come for her, you better come correct. So all right. One more thing here as we're running short on time. How has the different Caribbean countries handled coronavirus? How's it going over there now?
Well, I can tell you where I am right now here in Jamaica. There's a press conference going on as we speak, and that's the latest figure, I think, was just given of 364 cases, and it doesn't sound like a lot when it compared to the United States, but you also have to understand that we were doing pretty well by all standards, except for the fact that we weren't testing enough. And so the government here got called out on that issue of not testing enough. And so they've really started to ramp up testing. And so our cases essentially have gone up significantly since then. In terms of the rest of the Caribbean, you are seeing conversations now about when to reopen. Unfortunately, and that's a good thing for the entire Caribbean, by the way. Unfortunately for us here in Jamaica, we're not at the conversation yet where we're talking about reopening, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, everybody check out 18 Degrees North. That's 18dn.substack.com.
You got that right. Thanks.
All right. Sounds good. And everybody out there, always support great, fearless journalists. And Zahra certainly is that, and so is 18 Degrees North. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.